So how can you improve your love life in the bedroom? I discovered how to do this when I was doing something really strange and odd. I will share that with you in just a second. Plus, brutal honesty. It can be a good thing, but how do you really handle it? And finally, everyone is talking about the coronavirus. We shall discuss that and more on this episode of Imperfect by Design. Hi there, I'm your host, KT Harris, DC Media personality, joined today by a very special guest. You might know him from previous episodes. He's done the Man Minute. Welcome, Paul Brubacher.
Cheers, coronavirus, everyone.
You are the one man that I can always go to just kind of like mansplain any situation. And so I'm super glad that you were able to join us. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure being invited.
Awesome. So just a real quick recap, Imperfect by Design. This is a podcast that simply is created for everyone to embrace the fact that a lot of people just put up perfection on Snapchat, on Facebook, on Instagram. Everything is just, oh, so nice. But the reality is, sometimes things are flawed, and we can embrace that and make that a part of our lives as we laugh and have fun with Imperfect by Design. All right, so Melinda, who normally is the co-host with me, she is off doing online dating and dealing with some other issues. Just out of curiosity, have you done online dating at all?
Yeah, I just swiped right on her profile before I got here.
No, but seriously, I mean, like, what's your experience been with online dating?
You know, online dating is a cesspool, in my honest opinion. However, it's like fishing. You really have to go out there and you put that lure out 1,000 times. You might get something decent. And I've had, a very successful relationship from online dating. I have horror stories.
I know. You know what? It's
So
funny
many.
because I was talking to Melinda and she started sharing some of the horror stories, which she will come in and tell us about. But the best way to describe online dating, in my perspective, is kind of like going to Marshall's or Ross, where you got to sift through a bunch of stuff that just ain't right for you. And then you find that one thing and you don't let it go. You put it in your cart and you guard it with your life. So we'll find out a little bit more on how she's doing with her adventures in online dating in just a few. So we are drinking Coronas today.
Cheers.
And I have got to discuss a couple things about the coronavirus because it's got everyone up in arms. First and foremost, did you know that sales of Corona have dipped down 40% since the coronavirus? 40%. 40% of people are not buying Corona beer because they think that they can get the coronavirus by drinking a Corona.
That's ridiculous. Put it on sale first off if you're losing all this money. I mean, maybe that would help bolster, but it's not like it's Chinese beer. It's not Tsingtao or anything. This is the Mexican Miller Lite. Come on, it didn't come from there. It came from there. But.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, not buying Corona because you think you're going to get coronavirus is, to me, pretty much the same thing as not buying limes because you think you're going to get Lyme disease. I mean, like, seriously, there is absolutely no correlation. So that, and unfortunately, sales of Chinese food have dipped, and which kind of infuriates me. I'm part Asian, I'm half Filipino, and I'm like, just because somebody's descent does not mean that you're automatically going to catch the virus. So people, stop freaking out. Wash your hands, be prepared, and stop freaking out.
Stay 3 feet away. 1 meter. That means 3 feet. I had to Google that for yeah.
And instead of hugging, make sure you use your jazz hands. So speaking of which, I do have to say, a Bulgarian doctor has claimed that you can prevent coronavirus by doing this: drinking hard liquor.
Yes.
Seriously, the doctor says that helps prevent coronavirus because it kills it.
I have this theory about I never get sick because, well, the only thing actually sick inside me is my liver, maybe my head, but liver, because I'm pickled, a constant state of pickle. There's so much alcohol in my bloodstream, gin and bourbon, that I never get a cold. Perfect.
Well, there's nothing scientific, but I mean, if you think about it, if hand sanitizer contains alcohol,
right,
it prevents the virus.
Just don't drink it.
Hold on. No, I'm not sick. I did not. Just a small cough.
We're all gonna die.
No, you're not. The producer's going, oh my gosh, I gotta, like, is there a mask I can put on? All right, so the other thing about the coronavirus, too, which I think is absolutely hilarious, in Ireland, for St. Patrick's Day, they have canceled all of the parades because of the coronavirus.
Is it in Ireland yet? I didn't think leprechauns got sick.
Well, you know what I was thinking? The first thing I thought, I was like, if this was called the Guinness virus, that would not happen.
Pour me a glass of that. I'm really actually secretly hoping I get coronavirus because that means I can take a couple weeks off.
That's what everybody I know is saying. They're like, you know what, 2 weeks of staying home and Netflixing and...
Yeah, totally. I can work from home. Sure. You know,
it's like every mom's fantasy.
I bet. Except then the kids are there. So that's not really every mom's fantasy, is it?
Well, unless she's quarantined in a winery, then that's every mom's fantasy.
Well, then let's get on that.
All right, so I don't know if you're familiar with this story, but I thought it was really interesting. A Florida man is in serious trouble because he was at a barbecue, and another couple came up to them, and they were being brutally honest and yet funny and joking, and they said that his barbecue was burnt. So what he did was pulled out a gun and threatened to kill the couple.
What?
He ends up taking off, and then she calls the police, of course, because she's threatened, and she doesn't know who he is, but she finds him on Facebook, so they're able to arrest him and take him in. But brutal honesty, like telling a guy that your barbecue is burnt, do you think that that is grounds for taking out a gun?
No. I mean, that's... I guess if you were to call me fat, well, you can't do that.
Well, you know, I mean, for me... growing up in a Filipino family, you are used to brutal honesty. There's brutal honesty of like, every time you see your auntie or your mom, Kati, you gain too much weight. What the fuck happened to you? Why you no marry rich man? You marry guy poor. Why? That's my mother. So you're used to that kind of brutal honesty. And I actually had to deal with that this week too, because I'm a big foodie and I like to cook. And one of the girls that I work with, okay, so there was this big shindig because one lady made her chicken salad with mustard. Ugh. And that's what the other coworker, she goes, you made it with mustard. That's just horrible. So I made chicken soup and I shared it. And so the next day I come in and I'm like, how was the chicken soup? You know what I got? That wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't really like it. I'm like, really? Why is everyone being so brutally honest? Why not just say, yeah, it was okay?
Yeah, but how do you fuck up chicken soup? I mean...
I don't know. I thought the chicken soup was good. Everybody else thought it was good, but it was that one person. But I have learned an important lesson when it comes to brutal honesty because not a lot of people want it because it does hurt. But our producer is a guy that's brutally honest. Like he'll come in and he'll be like, oh, no, you touch up your makeup. Oh, no, you're not wearing that, are you? And initially, it could be one of those things where you're just like, really? But the reality is sometimes a good honesty bath is good because that's the only way that you grow. Do you agree or disagree?
I didn't know I was here for a life lesson.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm going to give it to you anyway.
Actually, I just learned this lesson. It was funny. My son and I went to get Jersey Mike's. Can I say that? Oh, what?
Yeah, go ahead. You're getting the shameless free plug because you want free food, but go ahead.
No, I hate. Anyway, so we pull up and I see all these Girl Scouts out front. I'm like, oh god damn it, Jacob, let's pick it up. Why, Dad? Because I don't want to get harassed for these fucking cookies, right? He goes, Dad, just be honest, just say no, thank you. And this, mind blown. I was like, no, I'll probably say, Dad, I got this. So we walk up and. You want some cookies? No, thank you. And me, I felt so guilty. I was like, well, his stepsister is in a troop in Frederick. We got a whole house full of cookies. Good luck, ladies. Because it made me feel like, I didn't want to break this little girl's heart. So maybe I have a problem with delivering brutal honesty. Unless it's a coworker, then I'll just tell him to F off.
No, you have no problem delivering brutal honesty. I think that you actually are pretty good with it. But I think when it comes to women and little girls, like little kids, it's, it's a little more difficult. You have to be a little bit more delicate. I think you should be delicate when it comes to brutal honesty, but I think that there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, my current boyfriend was brutally honest with me when we first started dating.
Because he wanted to dress you up as a sumo wrestler. I remember that.
Oh, yeah. That's another episode of Imperfect by Design. No, when we first started dating, he made a comment about my room. And I have a really, really big dresser. And sometimes I'm not the neatest person in the world. I'm not a neat freak. And he's like, well, maybe you're single because your dresser is just out of control. And I'm like, are you serious? Wow. Did this guy just say this to me? Lo and behold, it pissed me off so much that I ended up cleaning my entire dresser and doing a Marie Kondo. And I felt so much better afterwards. Afterwards, I was like, I just unloaded 8 garbage bags of clothes that I don't use anymore. So maybe there is some truth to it. So sometimes, take brutal honesty for what it is and look at the person and the reason why they're saying it. But it could also always be an opportunity to learn. So that's our imperfect by design lesson of the day.
I've learned things.
All right. So speaking of learning things, I learned something really kind of weird and odd, but yet interesting. And I think it's something that we can use in all aspects of our life. I noticed something when I was with my boyfriend and we were, we're having a good time. And all of a sudden, in the middle of a good time.
Checkers? Did he king you?
I looked at the clock. Paul, I knew this was going to be interesting with you.
You brought me here. This is your fault.
Yeah, it is. I looked at the clock in the middle of everything, and I'm like going, oh my gosh, I need to hurry this up because I'm going to totally mess up my schedule. I'm like, I got 15 minutes to get this done. Otherwise, my entire schedule is off. Who does that? Do you ever do that?
Yeah, guilty. Guilty, especially if I have a lot going on. If it's a morning time thing or nighttime, it doesn't really matter. But then sometimes my mind just wanders. Like, I got to do this. I got to you just.
Thank God I'm not the only one. I'm looking at the producer. Has this ever happened to you? Oh, he's never going to admit it. He's like, no, absolutely not.
It happens to everybody. It's normal. It's fine. Not that it's bad. It's just like, oh, something pops in.
Well. There is a term, it's called metabation, and it's basically Annie Sparkle, who is a performance and a sexual educator in the U.S. She has combined the two words.
Porn star? Is that what we're saying?
No. She's here to help everybody learn. And so she combined the words masturbation and meditation to make metabation. And she says that, it's basically being in the moment and being mindful. And so there's this whole movement when it comes to like mindful eating and mindful living. And so it does apply to your sex life. And so you do need to be mindful. And she gives these following tips. Number 1, be in a natural state of mind. In other words, probably not a great idea to be drinking too much Corona before you have relations. You want to be in a very natural, relaxed state of mind. And speaking of relaxed, you want to be physically relaxed. You don't want to be super tense and just like running, just coming off running 10 miles and then all of a sudden, no.
No, you got sweaty parts. You don't want to run 10 miles and come on.
You want to be physically relaxed. The next thing, which is what I was guilty of, is being aware. And I think that's something that a lot of us do, where you're not really aware. You're just going through the motions. You're thinking about the kids. You're thinking about everything else. You need to be aware of where you're at in the moment and not observing everything else.
I'm always aware because if I then and then it's done. You got a constant state of focus, people.
I guess that's true for men. You have to be completely,
Roseanne
totally.
Barr naked, Roseanne Barr naked, baseball.
And the other thing, which is pretty interesting, I think, and I think it's really good, is limiting your expectations. Because I think when it comes to having that rendezvous, women, and this is where I need the man opinion, because for women, when it comes to our expectations, we want
all of it.
We do. We want roses. We want rainbows. We want fireworks. We want,
I'm your guy. I'm kidding.
No, I mean, but we want everything to be just like super romantic and super smooth. But for guys, what do you want when you're, what are your expectations typically when you're in the bedroom?
Oh, jeez. Are we talking first date scenario or I've been with this person for a while? Because there's 2 different sets of expectations.
I wouldn't mind hearing both on this one.
If it's the first time, it's like, well, I hope it doesn't suck. Plain and simple.
And then for a long-term relationship,
well, by that time, hopefully you've communicated and you've expressed your expectations with each other and you've opened up that dialogue and you've gotten to know the person. You're comfortable enough to actually say, hey, you know what? I really like it when you do this with your thumb and your other finger. Be it what it may, not necessarily me. Oh, yeah. But yeah, absolutely. Communication and things, but expectations when you're together. I expect to please somebody else, and I expect to want to do that, and I expect them to want to please me just as badly as I want to please them. Mm-hmm. So mutual pleasure exchange.
Yeah, I think that is actually a pretty good expectation, but I think that sometimes, like, if you're in the middle of the moment and you're not getting that expectation, instead of, dwelling on it and dwelling on it and dwelling on it, just being in that moment and being mindful and just going, you know what? It doesn't matter if that person's not, I'm just enjoying this moment right now. And then they end up enjoying it as well.
So basically be thankful for what you're getting, because tomorrow you might not get any of it.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
That's the way
All right.
to enjoy your life. Remember, be mindful when you're doing something, be aware, snap out of it, stop thinking about, is my butt looking big, or is this, because guys really don't care about that.
No, not really. I mean, me, I'll just be like, oh, wait, my abs look really great when I'm doing it like
Oh, my God. Well, make sure that you join us on the next episode of Imperfect by Design. We have got to get the scoop on Melinda and her online dating. What's going on there?
I can't wait to hear that.
And there's a new show called Love is Blind. All my friends are talking about it. I have yet to see it. However, between now and the next podcast, I am going to binge watch it, and we shall discuss, is love really blind? That and more on the next episode of Imperfect by Design. Make sure you catch us on all our socials. We are on YouTube. Subscribe and like. Also on Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat and Twitter. Mwah, kisses!